Hi, it's Michelle. I'm here today to do a video about my most anticipated winter book releases. This is a wonderful video to watch if you are a book lover and you're looking for books to put on your wish list, or if you're anticipating maybe getting some gift cards this year, you can use those gift cards to get these books. And it's also for anyone who has book lovers that they are getting books for this year. I think this video might help give you some ideas about what to get the book lover in your life. I am going to be reading the synopsis for each of these books, and I will let you know the release date. And I'm just going to jump right in. December 7th, 48 Hours to Kill by Andrew Bourelle. This is a thriller book. Serving a 10-year sentence in a Nevada prison for armed robbery, Ethan Lockhart hopes that he can one day become a productive, law-abiding member of society. But society has other plans for Ethan. When he's given a 48-hour furlough to attend his sister Abby's funeral, he learns that her body was never found, just enough blood to declare her dead instead of missing, and he begins to suspect that there is more to her death than was reported. Ethan decides to use his 48-hour window to find out what happened, but to get to the bottom of the mystery, he'll have to return to his unsavory past. Ethan teams up with his sister's best friend Whitney in a search for the truth. United in their shared grief, their chemistry, both emotional and physical, also begins to heat up. But romance goes on hold as the suspects mount. Ethan's old boss, Shark, a mid-level loan shark, now heads a criminal empire. As Ethan and Whitney uncover more clues, they become convinced that Shark is responsible for the murder, but they have no proof. If Ethan is going to solve his sister's murder in 48 hours, he will have to become the criminal he swore he'd never be again. Doesn't that sound amazing? I think that sounds great. I don't read a lot of books like this where somebody's on furlough and they're trying to solve their sister's murder. He's willing to do whatever he's got to do to solve it, even become a criminal again and possibly have to stay in jail even longer. That's pretty amazing, I think. Also on December 7th, A History of Wild Places by Shea Ernshaw. This one is a mystery / fantasy, which I thought sounded kind of fun. Travis Wren has an unusual talent for locating missing people. Hired by families as a last resort, he requires only a single object to find the person who has vanished. When he takes on the case of Maggie St. James, a well-known author of dark, macabre children's books, he's led to a place many believed to be only a legend. Called Pastoral, this reclusive community was founded in the 1970s by like-minded people searching for a simpler way of life. By all accounts, the commune shouldn't exist anymore, and soon after Travis stumbles upon it, he disappears. Just like Maggie St. James. Years later, Theo, a lifelong member of Pastoral, discovers Travis's abandoned truck beyond the border of the community. No one is allowed in or out, not when there's a risk of bringing a disease rot into Pastoral. Unraveling the mystery of what happened reveals secrets that Theo, his wife Kala, and her sister B keep from one another. Secrets that prove their perfect, isolated world isn't as safe as they believed, and that darkness takes many forms. That sounds like one of those books that will keep a person up at night, I think. I think if I end up deciding to read this one, I'll be up till 4 a.m. finishing it one night. Which, by my page name, I like books that cause insomnia, so maybe I should read this one. I don't know. It's going to be really hard to pick this time because I'm really excited about these books. One of the things I really like about them is so many of these books are authors I've never heard of before, I've never read before, and I'm kind of excited about the idea of discovering more authors. I don't know if one can ever have too many authors that they have read. December 28th, The Sorority Murder by Allison Brennan, which is a mystery/thriller. Lucas Vega is obsessed with the death of Candace Swain, who left a sorority party one night and never came back. Her body was found after 2 weeks, but the case has grown cold. 3 years later, while interning at the medical examiners, Lucas discovers new information, but the police are not interested. Lucas knows he has several credible pieces of the puzzle, but just isn't sure how they fit together. So he creates a podcast to revisit Candace's last hours. Then he encourages listeners to crowdsource what they remember and invites guest lecturer Megan Merritt, a former U.S. Marshal, to come on and share her expertise. New tips come in that convince Lucas and Reagan they are onto something. Then, shockingly, one of the podcast callers turns up dead. Another hints at Candace's secret life, a much darker picture than Lucas imagined, and one that implicates other sorority sisters. Reagan uses her own resources to bolster their theory and learns that Lucas is hiding his own secret. The pressure is on to solve the murder, but first, Lucas must come clean about his real motives in pursuing this podcast before the killer silences him forever. So far, all three of these books just sound so chilling. They sound so good. Somebody on furlough from prison. Some kind of a commune, maybe like a religious cult where people go and don't come back. And then a sorority girl gets killed and a podcast ensues to help figure it out. See, I don't know about you, I've been kind of getting into books about podcasts lately, which I'm hoping then this one will have an audiobook. Because that's when audiobooks really shine, in my opinion, is when there's a podcast. January 4th, It Will End Like This by Kyra Leigh. This is a YA horror. Those are so fun, I think. Charlotte lost her mother 6 months ago. And still, no one will tell her exactly what happened the day she mysteriously died. They say her heart stopped, but Charlotte knows deep down there's more to the story. The only person who gets it is Charlotte's sister, Maddie. Maddie agrees people's hearts don't just stop. There are too many questions left unanswered for the girls to move on. But their father is moving on, with their mother's personal assistant. And both girls are sure that she's determined to take everything that's theirs away for herself. Now the only way to get their lives back is for Charlotte and Maddie to decide how the story ends themselves. That could be fun, right? January 4th, Fiona and Jane by Jean Chen Ho. And this is a fiction. Best friends since second grade, Fiona Lynn and Jane Shen explore the lonely freeways and seedy bars of Los Angeles together through their teenage years, surviving unfulfilling romantic encounters and carrying with them the scars of their families' tumultuous pasts. Fiona was always destined to leave, her effortlessly beauty burnished by fierce ambition, qualities that Jane admired and feared in equal measure. When Fiona moves to New York and cares for a sick friend through a breakup with an opportunistic boyfriend, Jane remains in California and grieves her estranged father's sudden death, in the process alienating an overzealous girlfriend. Strained by distance and unintended betrayals, the women float in and out of each other's lives, their friendship both a beacon of home and a reminder of all they've lost. In stories told in alternating voices, Jean Chen Ho's debut collection peels back the layers of female friendship, the intensity, the resentment, and the boundless love, to probe the beating hearts of young women coming to terms with themselves and each other in light of the insecurities and shame that holds them back. Spanning countries and selves, Fiona and Jane is an intimate portrait of a friendship, a deep dive into the universal perplexities of being young and alive, and a bracingly honest account of two Asian women who dare to stake claim on joy in a changing contemporary America. I don't know about you, but I love coming of age stories. That's why I chose this as one of my anticipated releases. January 4th, The Perfect Escape by Leah Konen, which is a mystery/thriller. New friends Sam, Margaret, and Diana are thrilled to be getting out of the city for a girls' weekend. They've bonded over their messy divorces, and every mile on the odometer feels like another step towards putting their exes in the past. But when car trouble halfway into their trip strands them in the most unlikely of mountain towns, they come face to face with the hurts and betrayals they were so desperate to leave behind. When Diana doesn't return home after a night out, Sam and Margaret's search for her reveals just how little they know about their friend. As eerie coincidences and secrets begin to pile up, and an ex-boyfriend arrives in the tiny town, the women realize that their detour may not have been a mistake, and that someone wants to guarantee that they never make it out. Kind of sounds like Wolf Creek or something, doesn't it? Have you seen that movie? It's a creepy movie. It's about friends in Australia who are on a trip together and they break down and somebody helps them. But do they really help them? No. Okay, moving on. January 11th, A Flicker in the Dark by Stacy Willingham, which is a thriller. When Chloe Davis was 12, 6 teenage girls went missing in her small Louisiana town. By the end of summer, Chloe's father had been arrested as a serial killer and promptly put in prison. Chloe and the rest of her family were left to grapple with the truth and try to move forward while dealing with the aftermath. Now, 20 years later, Chloe is a psychologist in a private practice in Baton Rouge and getting ready for her wedding. She finally has a fragile grasp on the happiness she's worked so hard to get. Sometimes, though, she feels as out of control of her own life as the troubled teens who are her patients. And then a local teenage girl goes missing, and then another. And that terrifying summer comes crashing back. She is paranoid and seeing parallels that aren't really there. Or, for the second time in her life, is she about to unmask a killer? In a debut novel that has already been optioned for a limited series by actress Emma Stone and sold to a dozen countries around the world, Stacy Willingham has created an unforgettable character in a spellbinding thriller that will appeal equally to fans of Gillian Flynn and Karen Slaughter. I mean, really? It's got to be pretty good then. And a debut novel, that's always kind of fun to like start with an author from the very beginning. Sometimes I get a little overwhelmed when I read a book and I really like it, and then I find out, oh, they wrote 43 books before this one, right? So this will be kind of nice to start right along with an author on their journey of writing books. To me, this one sounds super good because a psychologist who has blocked out things from the past and is now remembering them because something now reminds her of the past. That just sounds so haunting. I'm ready to read it now, but I have to wait until January. January 11th, Crimes and Covers by Amanda Flower. This one is Magical Bookshop number 5. It is a cozy mystery. Christmas is coming to the western New York village of Cascade Springs, and so is the long-awaited wedding of Charming Books proprietor Violet Waverly and police chief David Rainwater. Grandma Daisy and Violet's best friend Sadie all go out to make the nuptials the event of the season, whether Violet likes it or not. But the reception becomes memorable for all the wrong reasons when a woman's dead body floats by on the frigid Niagara River. What? Okay, you've got my interest here. Violet is shocked to recognize the deceased as a mysterious woman who visited Charming Books, 2 days before the wedding, toting a rare first edition of Henry David Thoreau's Walden. Well aware that a mint condition copy could be worth more than $14,000, Violet told the woman she would have to have the book appraised before she could consider buying it. Most displeased, the woman tucked the precious tome under her arm and stormed out of the shop. Now she's dead, and an enigmatic message scrawled in pen upon her palm reads, "They stole my book." It's a confounding case indeed, but fortunately, Violet can draw on the resources of her bookshop's magical consciousness, which communicates clues to Violet via quotes from Walden. With Emerson the tuxedo cat and Faulkner the crow at her side, Violet sets out to recover the priceless book by solving a murder most transcendental. So I put these books together a couple weeks ago, and some of them, unfortunately, I forgot already what I read about them. I just thought, oh, that sounds good. I'll put that on the list, right? So if I seemed surprised while I was reading that, it's because I was. I don't remember a lot these days. It's the holidays. I'm so in my head about all these different things I'm trying to do that it is hard to remember the details of things. I can see why this book sounds good. How can you go wrong? You've got a protagonist who owns a bookstore. Her fiance is a detective, which that's great in any cozy mystery series. She's also got a cat and a crow. I mean, that sounds pretty good to me. I know it's the number 5 book in the series. I don't really care. I have found with cozy mysteries, it's usually pretty easy to start the series halfway through, and then if I like a book, go back and start from the beginning. But I don't think that's too big of an issue with it being a cozy mystery book. If I'm talking about John Grisham or something, no, start from the beginning and move your way through. But cozy mysteries are a lot more start wherever you want friendly. February 1, Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. And this one is a historical fiction. In present-day California, Eleanor Bennett's death leaves behind a puzzling inheritance for her 2 children, Byron and Benny, a traditional Caribbean black cake made from a family recipe with a long history and a voice recording. In her message, Eleanor shares a tumultuous story about a headstrong young swimmer who escapes her island home under suspicion of murder. The heartbreaking journey Eleanor unfolds, and the secrets she still holds back, and the mystery of a long-lost child challenge everything the siblings thought they knew about their family and themselves. Can Byron and Benny reclaim their once close relationship, piece together Eleanor's true history, and fulfill her final request to share the black cake when the time is right? Will their mother's revelations bring them back together or leave them feeling more lost than ever? Charmaine Wilkerson's debut novel is a story of how the inheritance of betrayals, secrets, memories, and even names can shape relationships and history. Deeply evocative and beautifully written, Black Cake is an extraordinary journey through the life of a family changed forever by the choices of its matriarch. I just think that sounds so good. There's something very fascinating to me about books where someone has passed away and then the family finds out the truth about them. That's always kind of extra spicy to me. And I love a good historical fiction. It's not as dry as reading a history book, you know? There's usually a fun story that goes with the history, so. February 3rd, The Boyfriend by Michelle Francis. This one is a psychological thriller. Amy is fiercely independent with a high-powered career, a flat of her own, and tight-knit friendships. But as she approaches her 30th birthday, she can't help but rue the one thing she doesn't have, a relationship. When Amy comes round following a serious fall, she doesn't remember anything from the last 6 months. Not even the week skiing at her aunt's luxurious chalet in Val d'Isère with her mum and best friends to celebrate her birthday. And she certainly doesn't remember being swept off her feet by the handsome Dr. Jack Stewart. Jack is the full package, charming, caring, and devoted to Amy. Everyone is smitten with him, but as the week goes on, Amy begins to find Jack's presence chilling. Is her broken mind playing tricks, or is the perfect boyfriend really too good to be true? I picked that one because I think books where the protagonist is questioning their sanity, they're pretty entertaining. And we probably all have been there in one way, shape, or form in our past where we thought, am I the one that's crazy here? So I think that that can be very scary and creepy to think about. February 22nd, The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. And in this one is a thriller mystery. Jess needs a fresh start. She's broke and alone, and she's just left her job under less than ideal circumstances. Her half-brother, Ben, didn't sound thrilled when she asked if she could crash with him for a bit. But he didn't say no, and surely everything will look better from Paris. Only when she shows up to find a very nice apartment, could Ben really have afforded this? He's not there. The longer Ben stays missing, the more Jess starts to dig into her brother's situation, and the more questions she has. Ben's neighbors are an eclectic bunch, and not particularly friendly. Jess may have come to Paris to escape her past, but it's starting to look like it's Ben's future that's in question. The socialite, the nice guy, the alcoholic, the girl on the verge, the concierge. Everyone's a neighbor, everyone's a suspect, and everyone knows something they're not telling. I don't know about you, but I love books about siblings, and I have brothers. If something were to happen to one of them, I would have to find them. It would be my mission. There's such an attachment that we get to our siblings. Siblings are kind of funny because it's like we know more than anybody else does about how they grew up and where they came from, but we don't usually know a whole lot about their day-to-day lives once we become adults. It's like there's always this bond from childhood, but we only know what they tell us. So I just think that book sounds super good. What do you think? Do any of those books sound like something that you would like to read? Also, I would love to know, are there any that you are wanting me to read? I know some of you really look forward to hearing reviews on certain books, so definitely let me know down in the comments if there's ones that you want to hear reviews on it in the future because it helps me narrow it down. I've already narrowed it down to these ones, but trying to narrow it down from there is hard to do sometimes. And I wish I could just read all of them, but I don't think that's possible with the amount of books I have in my TBR stack. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night. Happy reading. Bye.